Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, sponsored by Cameron Commercials. If you're looking for a quality new or used van, change your man, go on to CameronCommercials.com and they'll help you out for whatever you need for your business. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Roughie and Tam McManus are here. The main headlines: a last-second penalty keeps Celtic in the title race. Hearts, with two hands on the trophy, have it snatched away right at the death, and the fans are now realising that 750 of them will be lucky enough to get the tickets to head through to Celtic Park for the title showdown on Saturday. Hibs keep their European hopes alive with a win at Ibrox. And is it the way to treat your captain as James Tavernier bows out in a suit? Just a few of the topics we'll be talking about. As far as the elite joinery and fire protection quiz is concerned, I thought we'd look a little further ahead to the World Cup. Which stadium will host the opening match of the World Cup, and which two teams will be playing in it? Which two teams will host the opening match for the World Cup, and which two teams will be playing? Which stadium will host the opening match of the World Cup? Do you know it, Roughie?
Mexico.
You think it's that? Mm-hmm. Tam?
Is that the stadium? Is that what the stadium's called? Mexico?
Monterrey. I don't know what the stadium's called.
That's what we're
Monterrey, Mexico.
Yeah. Which stadium?
I'll go for Miami.
Miami. Which stadium?
Argentina and somebody.
Okay. The question was which stadium?
I don't know the name of the stadium,
Okay.
but just to let everybody know, it's in Mexico.
The teams that are playing?
Be the local team for Mexico.
You're hopeless.
Mexico v somebody then.
Yeah, absolutely. We will also, a little later on, give you the details of the Lucky Tiger competition and our top 50, courtesy of First Class Credit Union. But let's cut to the chase. What a night. I've never experienced anything like it. It was absolutely incredible. Swinging one way, then the other. And as I've highlighted over the last 24 hours, there was a moment, there were two moments at Tynecastle when Hearts had both hands on the Scottish Premiership trophy, and it was snatched away in the final seconds. I was at Fir Park. You should have been at Fir Park. You're a complete loser who can't change his tyre, but you missed a humdinger of a match. I couldn't believe it. It had everything, Tam.
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting watching the TV in the house, and listen, it was when Hearts went 2-0 up and Celtic were 1-0 down. I thought, I'm wearing the Hearts strip. And then Celtic equalised. I thought, maybe Celtic go 2-1 up, I'm getting away with it. 2 each, I'm wearing the Hearts strip again. And then pandemonium at the end. It can only be described as a woeful decision for the referee and the VAR department. I didn't think that was a penalty kick. You'll have your opinions on it as well. And for Hearts, it's a sickener. I think there's no part of me wants Hearts to win the league. I've said it all season. You know, I want Celtic to win the league. I don't want Hearts to win the league. But I've got to feel sorry for him in that instance at the last minute, Peter, where that penalty kick. Derek McInnes, the Hearts supporters, Hearts players will be fuming. But they've got one more chance to clinch it on Saturday, and they might do that. But I thought it went Celtic's way last week. And it went Celtic's way last night as well.
Okay, that's Tam's opinion. It's quite a good show there. I'm looking forward to it. Roughie, I'm going to quickly give you a little bit of context to this. Not one person in that stadium was shouting penalty. I mean, I looked at it, I thought to myself, what are they looking at? I couldn't see it. But when I looked at the replay, it's a penalty. It's a handball. It's in an unnatural position. It's unfortunate. John Beaton has no option other than to listen to Andrew Dallas and VAR and go and look at it and make the call.
Yeah, I think obviously when you saw it initially, inconclusive. You know that you can't even see his hand being up there. You know, because it happened so quickly. But obviously, we've got VAR to look at these situations, and VAR have got a chance to look at it not once, not twice, 3 times, 4 times. They're the ones that we've employed to get the decisions right, and they saw a handball. I know you start seeing clips of stills and all that. There's no doubt about it, the hand is up there. You know, you then have to decide whether it's hit his hand or not. The first thing that I thought was Joe Jordan.
Yes.
Joe Jordan at Wales.
Yeah.
You know, the 2 hands, no, it's not the same, but the 2 hands are up there.
Yeah.
I always go by the opposition player. Does he go mental about it? The Motherwell player never said aye or no. You know, he never complained to the referee or anything like that. So, for me, it is inconclusive. But if the VAR have got more views than what I've got to go with what they say.
It's not a clear and obvious error, Peter. It's not a clear and obvious error.
Well, wait a minute. It's a clear.
It doesn't hit his hand. I don't think it hits his hand either. I think he headers it out. I think his hand's there and he headers it.
It's a clear and obvious error if the referee doesn't spot it. Do you know what I mean? He's missed a penalty.
Do you think that's a clear handball?
I think it's a handball. I'm not saying.
Surely if it hits his hand, Peter, it drops down. But
I think it's
we've all
harsh.
played football. If a ball comes in and it hits your hand, it's going to drop there. He headers the ball 20 yards away. I'm flabbergasted he gave a penalty. Sorry.
Well, not only that, but I think the other thing about it is Jens Berthel Askou said, and this is all about opinions, and sometimes, and I'm not for a minute suggesting that, you know, there are people who can see it with certain tinted glasses on and they'll have their opinion on it. The referee's called it. He's called a penalty. Iheanacho scored the goal. So that there's no debate about that. Now we're in a situation where Jens Berthel Askou says it's the worst decision he's ever seen in football, and Derek McInnes has had a real go with the decision based on what they were denied at the weekend as well. But I think there's a fine coming his way.
Oh, I think he'll take the fine. I think you want to see players and managers speak their mind.
Yeah.
And after the game, Derek is rightfully fuming at that decision. I thought they should have had a penalty against Motherwell last week. At the weekend, sorry, Criticises, that's a penalty kick. They don't get that. Then the Celtic get that penalty last night. That's two huge decisions in the context of 4 or 5 days that could basically win Celtic the league.
Well, we always said we didn't want VAR to have a major say.
It has.
It has had a major say in the outcome of. And by the way, they've all been throwing their tuppence worth in, and it just shows you how the focus of UK football, European and world football is watching Scotland right now and watching how it's all unfolding. Even Gary Lineker said it was the worst decision he's ever seen. But my point is, it doesn't matter whether it's Gary Lineker, Donald Trump, or Vladimir Putin. The point is, the people who look at the rules and then analyse the rules and dissect what they're witnessing have made the call. And it'll be interesting to see what Willie Collum comes out with as he analyses that and he then reflects on it, because there's no call on the Monday to Derek McInnes because there's no more Mondays left. No. This is about, you just have to stand by it and say, is it a penalty? If it's a mistake, Derek McInnes and Hearts will feel unbelievably aggrieved because it's taken the title away from them. So the other aspect of it, I think you're right, Tam, which brings me on to the next penalty. Was Maeda's a penalty?
Yes, I thought it was. Peter. I think that when your goalkeeper comes out, he hits Maeda before he hits the ball. So for me, it's a foul. He has to come through Maeda to get the ball, and that's a penalty kick for me. So I thought the referee got that one wrong as well. The one with Motherwell, it's hard to tell because I think he slips. So that's in the could go either way category, but I think Maeda's is a penalty as well.
Yeah, Callum Slattery's, the suggestion was he was going down already before he clatters in with McGregor. What's your take on the Maeda?
Yeah, I said earlier, I thought it was a penalty. Obviously, Maeda's backing into the goal. He's watching the flight of the ball. The goalkeeper can see the flight of the ball, and he's come right over the top.
He has to get the ball first before the player, didn't he?
Yeah, if it had been the centre-half hitting Maeda, it'd have been a penalty.
Yeah.
He's got away with it. But the point is that, as I was saying to you earlier, nobody's discussing it. I mean, you look at that incident and everybody's just wiping it out the road because it's no important to the other team.
Yeah.
But they want to highlight the ones that infected them, but they don't want to highlight that particular instance. And like Tam's mentioning the one last week with Hearts and Motherwell, they made the decision, but you had all the ex-referees throwing their tuppence worth in, and they weren't agreeing.
Yeah.
They were saying yes, some were saying no, some were saying yes, some were saying no.
We can all have an opinion, Roughie. What we have to deal with is the reality. I like giving an opinion. Tam's as straight as a die with it yourself. Managers and players, some people will suggest that there's bias. Some people will look at your school background and obviously who you support. It's irrelevant because, quite simply, this is another thing that I think we should quickly shut down. I don't want to hear another, what I call morons and bigots who turn round and suggest that somebody's integrity as a referee is questioned because they think he's a Rangers or a Celtic fan or what school he went to. All these people with very narrow minds should shut up forever because quite simply, all the things that they've thrown to the likes of an Andrew Dallas or a John Beaton were quickly thrown out because quite simply, as they have done on a regular occasion, whether they've done it well or not, and whether you think they're a grade A referee or not, they did their job. And at the end of the day, they made the call.
Yeah, I've never believed that any official or referee is biased towards a team. They're too professional, Peter. You know, there's football players, there's managers who support teams, and they want to go out and do their best against everyone because you want to get forward in your career. So I don't agree with that at all. John Beaton, you know, remember 3, 4, 5 years ago, you know, pictures of him, you know, he's a Rangers supporter, he's given everything to Rangers. Now last night, because he's given a penalty to Celtic, he's now a Celtic fan. So these are going to go on forever, long before after we're gone. The conspiracy theories, but I don't believe that at all. They make honest decisions, what they think is the right decision, and you've just got to abide by it. But that one last night, for me, you've got to be 100% certain. That's such a big call in the last seconds of the game. It could, you know, tip it one way or the other. I think it's got to be a clear and obvious error for that magnitude of a decision, and I don't think it was.
Over and above that, by the way, can I just say to you, it was a brilliant game. Motherwell were absolutely superb, play a brilliant brand of football. It's been a joy to watch them this season. No disrespect to your association and your association with Hibernian, I hope Motherwell win on Saturday because they've been absolutely brilliant. I hope they secure European football. They've been a joy to watch. On that basis, can I just quickly, as we look at the goals, do you think Tynecastle was at fault for the goals?
Yeah, I think unfortunately I was talking him up last week in the papers, and he has come on a ton. But a wee bit with the first one, I thought that the ball come round McGregor, maybe saw it late, but once he sees it, he's got to put it round the post. He's trying to flick it. I don't know why goalkeepers want to do this. You know, they try to flick it out the road, and it never worked for him. And the second one, I thought he could have done better.
Well, pushed it further away.
Yeah, I think the first one he could have pushed it away, but the second one he spilled it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a terrific shot, the second shot, or it comes off of somebody, but he's dived and he spilled it back into the feet. So no, I think if he really looks at that, and I think he was to blame.
Okay, Negrin, what a strike.
Yeah, brilliant goal. I thought initially it took a wee deflection just the way it dipped, but it's just the way he's hit it. You know, he's got a serious dip on it. Goalkeeper's got no chance. And then at that 2-1, you're thinking, can Celtic see it out and take it to the last day? And then I thought Motherwell last 20 minutes were excellent. I thought Celtic's substitutions didn't have an impact in the game. Usually they have under Martin O'Neill. They've come on and made an impact. They didn't. And, you know, for all money, it looked as if it was going to be a draw and Celtic were going to have to win 3 or 4.
Okay, I'm going to ask you your prediction right at the end of what we call the showdown here, but nevertheless, if you know, and the prices of petrol are going up, Roughie, so I think the helicopter pilot can just actually sit the helicopter at Celtic Park and then wait right till the end to see what drama is going to unfold before he loads it up and heads to either Tynecastle or just keeps it at Celtic. Although I would imagine if they won it on the last day, they'll hand the trophy over to them right there and then, Roughie, whoever it is.
Yeah, I've always said, having never been in a team that's won the league or anything like that, if I was going to win the league, I would rather win it at home, you know, in front of my own fans, you know, who have supported the team all year. That's not going to be the case, obviously, for Hearts because it's at Parkhead. But again, you know, they've got the chance to win it at home, which I would, if I had the chance, I would like to win it at home. So
okay, Hearts 3, Falkirk 0. We've run out of time, Roughie.
Yeah, they've done well. I think they just continue to do what they've been doing at home. I think they've lost a game at home, and the goals they scored were very, very good. And at the end of the game, it reminded me, now it was bouncing back and forward to all the games. Yeah. It reminded me back to Man City with Aguero.
Yes.
You know, the fans in one stage, and for the Hearts players to be standing out in the park after the game watching.
That reminds me of Man United.
Yeah,
they were over
trying to get an acknowledgement. Is it 2 each or is it 3-2? And not knowing where you are, you know, you're ready, the place is ready to explode, and then that goal goes in for Celtic. So they've got to pick themselves up. There'll be a lot of mental stuff going on, but if Hearts do go there to Parkhead at the weekend and get what they need, they deserve all the credit that they get.
Yeah. Okay. Will we talk about that right now, or will we go on to the last game, which was Rangers? Let's do Rangers quickly. Okay, Rangers 1, Hibs 2. Martin Boyle copies James Tavernier's swing, but I think the story was James Tavernier. I have to say to you, I thought it was shoddy. I thought it was a lack of respect. But am I bang out of order here? Should sentiment come into it?
No, I think you're right, Peter. I think I look at James Tavernier's career at Rangers, ultimate professional, 10, 11 years. Rarely misses a game, rarely been in trouble off the pitch. I think it's a lack of respect. I think he deserved to go out. It's a dead rubber for Rangers. You know, Danny Rohl's talking about next season. You know, he's obviously confident he's going to be there. It's not as if he's under a massive pressure to win the game. So I really did. I thought it was poor from Danny Rohl. I thought the whole occasion was poor. He's got to start him. You've got a guy who's just, I think, been done for a misdemeanour, drunk driving. And then he's in the team, and then you've got James Tavernier, who's the captain and been the consummate pros, not playing. Doesn't sit well with me. I think he should have played and then took him off. He deserved that. And having to come on in his suit and get meet John Gregg, and it's just not the way you want to go out, Peter, in terms of his Rangers career. I think he deserved better than that.
I agree with you. I think it lacked class, and I thought it was a lack of respect for a captain who's been there. Whether you are critical of him
through the leagues, he's stuck with the club, the lower leagues as well.
Exactly. Whether you're critical of him as a player for his deficiencies, which everybody's had their say on it. Whether you think he should have won more trophies, he was there for a long time, and he did provide a number of highs along the way as well. To put it into perspective, I said that he'd scored 144 goals. He's won every domestic honour. Maybe not won as many as everybody thinks, but I thought Danny Rohl got that wrong at Roughie, and I lost a bit of respect for him with that decision.
Yeah, again, we don't know the dialogue that went on between the two of them before the game.
I think he had to be talked back into the stadium, Roughie. I think he left.
Yeah. Obviously something's happened in the conversation, whether, he said, no, you're not playing, or Tavernier said, well, I'm not happy with the way you're treating me, blah, blah, blah. But for me, as you guys have been saying there, he's been there, I think it's 11 years. I cannot remember a Rangers player who's came in the 11 years and done more than what he's done. No, yeah. I just kind of think a player who's scored the goals, turned up, took the slack when it's there, appeared at every game. I can't remember any signing that Rangers made have been better than him since he came there.
Well, you can have your say on it. Give us your thoughts on the James Tavernier situation. A word of credit for, David Gray, the team, 2-1 win.
Yeah, first time they beat Rangers this season. It's been a long time coming, and gives them an opportunity on Saturday to finish above Motherwell, which hasn't looked likely for the majority of the season. But back-to-back wins, and they gave themselves one opportunity to finish fourth, which would look a lot better for David Gray than fifth, and possibly sixth last week if Falkirk they beat them. So these last couple of games could be really crucial for David Gray in the eyes of the Hibs supporters.
Give us your prediction on Hibs against Motherwell.
I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for 2 each. I don't think Hibs will beat them. I think Motherwell will finish fourth, 2 each.
I'm going to go 3-1 Motherwell.
Wow. I'm going to go 2-1 Hibs.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. What should be a disappointing end to the season for Motherwell, because as you keep telling us, they have been one of the most exciting teams this year, playing football, a brand of football, but home advantage again, with the support behind them. A lot to play for, but I think Hibs might just nick this one.
Okay, give us your thoughts on that. Let's talk about the showdown, because it is Celtic against Hearts at Celtic Park. It is Martin O'Neill against Derek McInnes. It's the majority of the 60,000 all cheering on Celtic, 750 Hearts fans hoping that they're going to witness a miracle in Celtic's backyard. So with that in mind, Don Robertson is the referee. Kevin Clancy's on VAR. We now know all the players in this movie. It is an incredible movie. If you were talking about it, the only way I could sum it up as I was speaking to someone this morning, this is Seabiscuit, it's Rocky, and it's Field of Dreams all rolled into one. It is one of these movie scripts that I don't think even the biggest mogul in Hollywood would buy into, but it's down to the wire. Hearts need a draw or a win. Celtic need to win.
Yeah, and it's you couldn't have asked for a better finish to the season. It's been a long time. I think Aberdeen Rangers we spoke about many years ago when Rangers won 2-0 at Ibrox to win the league. It's been a long time since two clubs have went down to the last game of the season playing each other to win the league. I think the pendulum has swung again. You know, it's swung back and forth so many times this season. You know, Hearts had, as you said earlier, two hands on the trophy at one point. How they pick themselves up is going to be important from now until Saturday. That's Danny McManus, the staff, you know, to make them believe again, because that must have been a sickener last night for them. But I just think Celtic at home with that 60,000 behind them. Martin O'Neill's been there, done it. A lot of the Celtic players have been there, done it, and I think that might be the difference. So, as Roughie said as well, if Hearts go there and get a point or a win, they'll thoroughly deserve it. But I think last night is taking it away from them, and I think Celtic will win.
Roughie, give us your thoughts on this one.
If this game had been at Tynecastle, I would have said Hearts, definitely. I think home advantage with your own support behind you will matter a lot. Obviously, the first goal again, the old saying, you know, if whoever gets that, but that's might not be the case. It's how Hearts approach the game. Deep down in your mind, you know, if we go out there the day and we get a draw, we've won the league. I don't think you can go out and play for a draw, but I think it depends on what Celtic team turn up. And if the Celtic team turns up the way they've turned up in the last 6 or 7 games, I can only see one winner. I really can, and not by a lot by a much, maybe 2-1, something like that. But I really do hope Hearts go into the game, you know, and make a game of it, because we want to end the season with two of the top teams, you know, putting up a good show, and we don't want any VAR, we don't want any nonsense. Keep a living on the park, give us a good game, something that we'll talk about forever.
I've said all along, Roughie, that I've tipped Hearts since the start of the year, but I've said all along that if it's down to the wire and it's in Celtic's backyard, I can only see one winner. I can only see Celtic winning it, because quite simply the evidence of the way they played against Rangers, 60,000, the majority in there supporting Celtic. If Celtic score first, I can see Hearts collapsing at that point, because I don't think they'll have the mental strength to deal with that stadium.
I think the first, listen, we always say the first goal's important, but in this game it's unbelievably important. If Hearts get it, you know, that the nervousness in that Celtic stadium can transmit to the players. Hearts have got something to hang on to. If Celtic get the early goal, you're right, I would fear a drubbing. I think Celtic could run over the top of Hearts with that wave of support behind them. So it's just an intriguing game. But I just think it's swung to Celtic now. And at home, you know, to go basically perfect after Tannadice, where a lot of people wrote Celtic off, to go perfect, to maybe go 7 or 8 wins in the trot to win the league. Perfect. They've scored so many late goals. Sometimes you just look at a club, you look at a manager and you think, it's meant to be. It's written in the stars. And for me, it is with Martin O'Neill. Basically, Martin O'Neill is going to drag Celtic over the line, I think.
And at that, it would be the most dramatic end to the season when you consider, I mean, even if you were looking at it as a horse race, and I'm saying to you, this is one of those classic movies where I say to you, Roughie, here's the pitch. There's going to be 3 horses racing for it, and one of them's not too fancied. The other one's got an old jockey on it, and there's another one who was an outsider but suddenly has hit the front. And then from there, they've all been chasing that horse that's hitting the front, and then the old jockey falls off and they bring on a new one who's hopeless, and then he falls off and the old jockey gets back on, and then the Rangers horse falls by the wayside. It's 2 head-to-head, and suddenly we're waiting till them hit the bend.
Yeah, and I think, obviously, all the pressure's on Hearts, because they've been there since, October. They've been riding high, they've been winning games left, right and centre. They've not had to deal with any of the pressure. They've not had to deal with trying to catch up. They've had winning games and that. Now the pressure's there. Now the players have been put upon them. They've got to go and get something. And I don't think they've had that kind of pressure, whereas Celtic have had that. You've got to win this game, you've got to win that game, because Hearts have done particularly well. So I think it's a big loss. Halkett and the boy Leonard do it. You know, I think they would be 2 big players at Parkhead. They're not there. I just think the momentum's now Celtic, and they're getting the breaks here and there.
The only other thing that I'm going to highlight to you, which is obviously a product of a title showdown, and we're about to witness it, and I think it's absolutely gut-wrenching to witness it, Tam. I know sometimes on TikTok you can see things and everybody reacts to emotion when you're watching on YouTube, when you're watching on the television. I think we are about to witness, sadly, one set of fans, either in maroon and white or green and white, with little boys and girls crying if it doesn't go their way, because that's the emotion of this thing. And again, I just, I dread to think what the capital city will be like. Remembering when I was there in 1986, that this, if they don't win it, how that half that city will be feeling.
I think you'll see one set of supporters absolutely joyous, particularly if Hibs beat Motherwell. For long periods this season, it's looked as if Hibs could beat with the washing, not even in Europe, and Hearts are going to win the league. And Hibs' 150th year now. Hearts could lose it in the last day of the season and Hibs could finish fourth. So I think this would hurt the Hearts fans more than 1986. I do. I think this is going to hurt the Hearts fans. They basically had it last night. They had it in their hand. And they didn't really have it in their hands in 1986. Obviously, they needed something, but just for the whole season, they've led the league since September. This is going to hurt Hearts fans more than any other league season, I think, if they don't win it.
Do you agree with that, Roughie? Because, again, can I just say something to you? It's very similar circumstances. All Hearts had to do was draw up at Daizen Park in 1986 and they'd won the league. They had it in their hands. All they had to do was draw or beat Dundee. And then the added twist was Celtic had to beat St Mirren by 5 clear goals. And they managed to do it. This one is, again, a situation where Hearts, all they need is a draw or a win, and they've won it. So where does it sit with you? Tam thinks it's going to be even worse.
I think it'll be even worse for the modern day Hearts supporter. I think the older supporters in '86 will still be there, obviously, and they'll have had that hurt. I think it's the new Hearts supporters, the new regime that taken over from administration and the foundation, and they're the ones that are going to, if it doesn't happen, going to experience it, and it'll be them that will have to try and deal with it the way the supporters in '86 had to. But it is going to be a lot of sad scenes, like that Man City game, where they're all going to the supporters here and there and crying one minute and happy the next. And I think that's what's going to be at the weekend.
Prediction, score?
2-1 Celtic.
3-1 Celtic.
2-1 Celtic. I just cannot believe right on the last game I'm changing my mind, but I think home advantage is just so much in favour of Martin O'Neill, and even at that,
Let's hope we're not talking about VAR on Monday.
Oh, I hope it's not VAR. The title...
Sorry Peter, there's severe pressure on the officials as well in this game. After last night, a lot of pressure on Don Robertson, Kevin Clancy. So
got to get it right.
Got to get it right.
Huge pressure on the referees, and I can tell you, globally, the audience will be humongous. People watching Scottish football for the most exciting title race in many a year. Up there with the helicopters changing direction, this is a chance for new commentators to get a catchphrase, get a moment that they can describe that will live on in fans' memories forever. Who's going to win it? The showdown. Put your answer in the comments section below. We want to hear what you have to say on Celtic against Hearts at Celtic Park, 12:30 kickoff. Okay, before we go, I put the question to you. Elite Joinery and Fire Protection quiz.
Yes.
Which stadium will host the opening game of the World Cup in 2026, and who will play in that opening match? It is the Mexico City Stadium, and it's Mexico against South Africa.
Is it the Azteca, the big main one they've got?
It's called Mexico City, which is not the Azteca. So there's your answer. There you are, Roughie. You were
It's not the one where Brazil won way back.
No.
A new stadium.
I think this is a purpose-built new stadium, but nevertheless, I might be corrected on that, but that's the answer to it. And there'll be a number of people looking forward to the World Cup. We'll be covering every part of it, and you'll get lots of content from PLZ Soccer as well. Hopefully, you will hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. As you can see in the background there, one of these men is going to be, I think, accorded legendary status if they don't have it already, if they can produce the result that pleases their fans on Saturday. Join us tomorrow. Roughie's going to be back here because Roughie is the consummate professional. Roughie is the man who is always there for you.
He has got more faces in the town clock.
In the big moments.
Well, what are you doing?
After
What's
your
on
two
tomorrow?
podcasts, I've got a do in the Hilton,
Yeah.
the Freight Club.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's why Roughie and I have got such a strong, unbreakable friendship. He's here.
You were slaughtering him 2 weeks ago.
It's the second-
We done David Tanner's podcast.
That's the nature of
Swings and roundabouts.
a strong friendship can survive a little bit of treachery. So at the end of the day, he's there for me, and I love him dearly. There's no snake in the grass hobbling away for more money elsewhere. So the great news for people who love their football and love consistent pundits who are there with you when it matters for the biggest game ever. Roughie's here with Stephen McGowan and Hugh McDonald, two other great lads with an opinion that you don't have to drag out of them. Anyway, at that point, join us if you can live 4 o'clock on PLZ Soccer's YouTube. It's going to be a blistering weekend, and we're going to be right across all the games at the weekend to keep you right up to date with what's happening. From Roughie and from Tam McManus and from myself, Peter Martin, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.